Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Elizabeth George, Chief Membership Officer with the American Guild of Organists. And with me tonight, I have Phylicia Ross, who is Manager of Member Engagement and Chapter Support, and a very special guest, someone who I consider a leader, a mentor, a trailblazer. Chris Cook, I don't know what more I can say about you except that you are a past dean of the San Diego chapter and are currently serving as a membership coordinator, I think. I think that's correct.
And registrar.
And registrar. Very important. Very
Yes.
important. So we really want this to be very interactive tonight. We hope that you will post questions in the Q&A box. We will wait till the end of this presentation before we answer them. This is being recorded, so we know there are many deans who are not here tonight due to board installations and year-end events. So recording will go out probably within the next 48 hours to make sure that everybody has had a chance to review this. So I think what I'm going to do is let's just start. We'll start. Let's go ahead and Phylicia, if you wouldn't mind, she's gonna drive the car tonight. Okay. Well, we're glad you're here, chapter deans. We really are. We're doing a series of training webinars, and we are glad. We know you could be doing other things on a Tuesday evening, so thank you for joining us. And let's go into the next slide. All right, so I know many of you are familiar with the Chapter Management Handbook that has a lot of good information about descriptions of officer positions. And all of these things are important: perseverance, optimism, integrity, respect, transparency, collaboration, energy, and having fun. However, I think there are a few more attributes and processes that are going to help you to have a more successful year serving as a chapter dean. So really, we're going to talk tonight about all of these. And then, of course, at the end, have you comment and share as well what your hopes and goals are for the year. So I'm going to take it away. Phylicia, if you'd like to present.
Sure. Great. So a positive experience as dean starts off with a great orientation and training from your predecessor. Step one, hand over all the paperwork. Make sure that you have all the passwords. Anything that needs to get from one person to another is given access to any accounts. It's very important to review any budgets or financial statements to make sure that the incoming dean is aware of what is currently going on, as well as review your chapter operating procedures. So the dean is familiar with all of the procedures throughout the organization. And if your chapter doesn't have operating procedures, the AGO offers a template for chapters to use. It's a great way to start getting what you do written down, so it can be passed on, officer transition to officer transition. We also suggest taking a look at the preparing for productive board meetings in the board team handbook. It talks about making sure you have a packet that includes meeting minutes from previous meetings, any committee reports, financial updates. It talks about Robert's Rules of Order and the things you can use to structure a meeting to make sure that it is organized and you're not keeping people longer than you need to. And a great way to do that is to use a consent agenda. Consent agendas are prepared before the meeting, include anything that needs to be voted on but does not need to be discussed. So people can receive the consent agenda before the meeting, read what's on it, and then during the meeting, you just vote on passing what is on that consent agenda. And getting all this paperwork in order will just make your life easier going forward, and getting started on the right foot will make your entire term successful.
I put the link to the board team handbook in the chat box, and it is on our website. It is under the chapter leadership toolkits, which are easier to find now. Just go to the chapters tab on our homepage. There's a drop-down menu and you'll see the toolkits there, and the board team handbook is front and center. And I really encourage you to read it. It's a great tool. It's going to help you. All right, Chris, you're up.
Well, the question is, who's in charge? And the most frightening answer is me. So I want to take the onus of total responsibility that a dean often is burdened with and refocus it into a concept that the dean is a part of a team, and the dean's main role in that team is to set a vision and set the tone for a successful term. The dean is mostly responsible for helping everybody else learn to work successfully together and to use the tools that are available to us for doing that. But I want to focus for just a minute on the word vision, because I think there's a saying that says, without vision, the people perish, and certainly boards do if they don't know why they're there. So, deans, I'd like to ask you to spend a few minutes and reflect upon this two questions. The first one is, what are we about? Well, the answer is we're about music, we're about building community, and we're about furthering education and encouraging our performers. The second question is, who are we and how can we make a difference in our community and to our members? I think this is the most important question we can ask ourselves as new deans, because we make an impact on everybody who is on our membership list, and through that membership list, other organists and people in churches and concert halls throughout our region. And so it's a very important thing for us to know that how we can make a difference so that we can be an effective nonprofit organization fulfilling our purpose. The teamwork dimension of this is really a function of the dean's role in teaching the tone, the style with which we work. And you can see the first four of the bulleted points there are really about style. How do we work together successfully? Collaboration, collegiality, working respectfully, and listening to each other are obviously keys. The dean needs to show how to do that. And the dean, in a soft way, needs to be able to help others learn how to do that as well. One of the things I recognize is that everybody is new at something on a board, and we are all in the process of learning life lessons. And this is a great opportunity for people to come together to learn how to work as a team, and in doing so, to become a greater person and more effective professional. The style dimension of this is one part. It's the tone. The tools are facilitating our conversation. That's the dean's tool. Leading and following, showing how to lead and follow by setting an example, by setting SMART goals for the year. If you're not familiar with SMART goals, you can understand this by that's a little mnemonic. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You can find more information about this easily on the internet, but it is a powerful tool for bringing each of our board members into a conversation about how they can be effective and what they are supposed to be doing during the year. I know that from time to time we have a new board member who comes on and has no idea what it is they're supposed to do. In our operating procedures, we actually have little mini job descriptions. And in our first meetings, we always have a SMART goal setting for the year based upon the major project that we are focusing on for the year or for the term. And by being a good communicator, we also are communicating that we have clear expectations for each of our members. And a part of the expectation is the teamwork dimension, and a part of it is the individual effort that each board member needs to bring into focus so that they can accomplish the tasks that are in their particular job descriptions.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Okay, what's next, Phylicia? Well, we hope you don't encounter this, but I have a feeling at some point during your leadership, you will have to deal with some difficult board members who, well, it's not going to be easy. I used to say, this is where you have to put your hip boots on and just slog through the muddy water to get to the other side. And you have to learn how to manage disruptors. And, oh gosh, there's the board member who just goes on and on and on and on, just wants to keep saying and reiterating the same thing. And I think at a certain point, you just have to say, thank you so much. You made your point. We want to stay on time. So please, let's continue. And then, of course, there's the board member that doesn't come prepared, who says, well, can somebody share the minutes? Because I didn't have a chance to read them ahead of time. And these are all these things that you can set in your expectations. And as well, I think what Chris mentioned that's so important is having that orientation at the beginning of the year, so everybody knows what their expectations are. You might deal with a board member who is frequently absent, and that might be something that you might want to put in your chapter operating procedures. After a certain amount of time, if someone, unless it's a serious family issue or problem, if someone is just not present, not responding, not replying, after a certain number of times, we would simply ask them to step down in their leadership position. You don't want to do that, but they're there because they said they wanted to contribute. And if they can't contribute, they're not helping you move forward with your goals. Phylicia, you want to talk about the next three?
Sure. So just to touch on the miser, I think one of the important things to keep in mind is that the money that they are managing is not their money, it is the organization's money, and it's to be put in the service of the organization. So this is where your goals come in, and you want to stay focused on those goals. And the goal is not to have the biggest bank account, it's to deliver the best experience to your members. I think it ties into a little bit with the pessimists, and you know, it is tough out there, and life is tough in the year 2024, and it can be hard to keep a positive attitude. But as in your role as dean, that's part of your job, is to keep everyone positive and moving forward and focused on those goals. And if pessimism is driving stagnation, then you won't make any progress. So I think it is really important to keep an eye on those goals, and that is what will help you work to consensus.
Chris, chime in, because I know you had some wonderful thoughts about this.
Well, I was talking with my wife, and she said, well, Chris, what you really do is completely different from what anybody I know ever does. And that is that you have a soft leadership style that involves behind the scenes conversations and consultations. And so I want to do two things. The first thing I want to do is I want to advertise this book, which has been very helpful to me. This book is called Crucial Conversations. And it's about dealing with difficult people. I went through a training about 15 years ago, which just changed my understanding of the way that group dynamics operate in any organization. So I highly recommended Crucial Conversations. And back to the soft background conversation. In Crucial Conversations, the primary key to successful resolution of conflict has to do with establishing a circle of shared values, so that everybody in the room understands and shares the same values and articulates them. And I already have spoken about doing this as a part of the introductory material. And then when a conflict occurs, then the solution to the problem is to return to a review of our shared values, to reaffirm the values that we all have agreed that we want to uphold. And so when you have a miser, you have to address well, isn't the money for the use of the group? If you have a pessimist, isn't there something that we can say that's positive about what it is? Isn't this moving us forward in the way we want to go? But what I want to share with you is my soft approach to this. And that is that I typically will talk with a board member, every board member, at least once or twice a month, before and or after meetings, depending on how things go. I call it a background conversation. And I want to listen to any concerns that they have or will express. I want to accept receiving their opinions and discussing them and looking at them. I want to return to the values if we need to do so. But mostly I want to offer expressions of respect and caring for that person in even in the problem person, and gratitude for their intended goodwill, and to create a sense of positive regard for me and for, and I want to reflect that to them, so that when we've come into a meeting, we've often pre-talked the issues. We often have already agreed that something is going to happen, so it's not a surprise. And so there's no reason to get the brakes going for anything. And so I find that to be motivational. For instance, if I have a board member, we actually had this, a board member who is frequently absent, she missed for a year and a half. Well, we were in touch with her during that time because we were going to remove her. And in our operating procedures, we can remove, we have a process. She had lost her son, her mother, she had lost her husband, she had 2 hip replacement surgeries and pneumonia. So we suddenly had a little bit different point of view about her. And she has actually come back in the past 6 months and is highly effective. So we kept someone rather than lost them. And that's what I hope we can do when we are dealing with difficult board members, because often they have the energy that we really need on this board to move ourselves forward.
Thank you. Where are we? Building your leadership pipeline. Well, I have to say that the San Diego chapter has done this so well for so many years. And a few years ago, they looked at the members at large positions and said, now, we're going to get rid of these. We have to give everyone who's serving on the board a purpose. They have to have some duties. They're going to feel more engaged. And this is a way that we get them more involved in the life of the chapter. And one of the greatest positions that I think you came up with was this position of chapter life coordinator. And there's an article every month that Ron Jesse writes, in which he highlights in your newsletter all the comings and goings, congratulating people if they've, I don't know, received an award or a designation, or somebody had a baby, or somebody got married. These are things that I think are so important. And Chris, please go ahead and share some more of what you do.
Well, to follow along with the other news that we always think is really important is to share promotions and new appointments in the community, and to recognize retirements and awards that other churches have given their people. We have recently a member who received 50 years of service at her church. And so we wanted to be sure that the whole membership knew that. It wasn't just down in Chula Vista. It was that we support this wonderful person and we know her well enough to congratulate her, because that we all want to be that person eventually, right? So with regard to managing new members, we do a newsletter biography as a part of our chapter life experience. And we get a personal phone call. They all get a personal phone call from me as the registrar, thanking them for their joining. I want to make a friend. I mean, I have every person I have brought in is in my contacts list, and I can find them at any moment. And we want, of course, to invite them to the next meeting, because they usually haven't started getting our communications yet. So we want to be sure about that. And then we have a kind of a buddy follow-up system that we try to implement. And I say that's probably the most difficult thing to do, because I can be everybody's buddy, but I can't talk to them all at the same time. And so we're going to spread that out amongst all the members. The board gets a conversation about what they are expected to do at a chapter event, which is to circulate and talk with everybody that's not being talked with. And that is one of the most highly welcoming things that we have learned to do. All board members are always on engaging with other members and their guests at every event. I want to go talk about recognizing, acknowledging volunteer accomplishments, because Elizabeth is most excited about this now. It's our newest effort, and our friend Ron Jesse gets full credit for this. Here in San Diego, we have famous beaches and sand and sun, finally, after the May gray has gone. And so Ron called these the Beach Breeze Awards. He wanted to do this award ceremony on the beach at a fire pit with a picnic going on. Alas, it was too cold, so we actually were inside a church. But what we did, he brought to the board an initiative, a set of categories to recognize different kinds of contributions to the chapter. For instance, the Educator of the Year. We had a category that was to recognize pastors who were especially noted for their support of music programs in their own churches. And we awarded 4 of those last month. We had one that was an outstanding performer of the year. And we were able to give our beloved former civic organist that award, who is sorely ignored now as an aging person. And so we were able to get him up and to stand him and to acknowledge his decades of contribution to the musical life of San Diego. We had a service award for outstanding service to the San Diego chapter. And we awarded 2 of those to people who had really given a lot. And then finally, we had a category, which was the upcoming, newcomer award. We awarded to 2 people who had really done a lot of work on our behalf on the board. And so all of these 15 people got an award at a very well done, beautifully arranged dinner, a reception after one of our events. And so I was excited about this because it really does build within the community a little more historical memory that everybody can share. Obviously shared values, but also, will I be remembered in the future as a motivator for new people to come on board and recognize that you can make a contribution and be recognized. I want to be one of those people, right? And so that's a high level of motivation, and we're planning to do that every year in a different context each time. Next time it's going to be a silent film to go with it, so it'll be a lot of fun with the dinner.
That's brilliant. I
Isn't
love
that fun? And I have to say that Ron wrote the script, which was just lovely. He has a great writing style, and so we really had a great time putting this together. And I know that Elizabeth has invited him to write a little bit about this for one of your columns, and so you'll see a little bit more about this, I think, in the near future.
Actually, I think we have an article coming out in TAO in August, if I am
The famous 2-month deadline.
yeah, no, I was just blown away by this, but I think you also had an award where clergy could nominate why their church musician at what they had contributed to the life of the church, which I thought was wonderful because yes, you are building a sense of community and you're looking beyond the walls of the chapter.
Mhm.
And it's, to me, it's such a wonderful, wonderful initiative on so many different levels of engaging people, of recognizing people, of bringing this sense of community. And I'm going to put my membership hat on for a second and just say an opportunity for recruitment and retention. So I salute you for this. I really do. I think what the San Diego chapter is doing is really phenomenal, and a nice twist on awards ceremonies. Everybody likes to be recognized, but I
Right.
really think and Ron has done a lot to really kind of give this a new twist. And if you're going to be on the beach next year, well, you're going to have a silent film. Okay, well, I might come anyway, but I would love to be on the beach with you.
If you come, we'll change our plans, Elizabeth.
Okay, okay. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that you may have heard in other webinars or in my newsletters that I think does help build a leadership pipeline, and that is creating micro volunteer opportunities. Some people hear the word committee and they just run for the hills because it means commitment. But if you have a list of tasks and you share how many hours, how many minutes it's going to take someone, they might be more likely to sign up and say, yeah, I really think I can do that. And I will tell you, I had a wonderful discussion with Jeff Hoffman, who is actually the incoming dean. They're having their officer installations tonight. And he said, you know what, Elizabeth, I have a list of things that I think the chapter is going to need help with, of duties and support that are simple. And I'm going to go around and speak to the people that were there, explain this to them, and see if they can sign up for one of these. So I think that's really helpful in talking about finding future leaders, because I know for some chapters that is the hardest thing to do. And often it is the role of dean, which is why we're having this webinar tonight. Anything anybody else wants to contribute about this? Okay, well, this is your turn. If we go to the next slide, really for questions and comments. And let me just take a look here into the Q&A. Hi, Laura Russell. Are all chapters automatically covered by director and board members' insurance, indemnification insurance? What's the level of coverage? You are covered, and we can share that with you. There is a link down in the bottom of the page, of every page on our website, which at the moment is looking a little like Where's Waldo, but it is being redesigned and it's going to look fabulous in another month or so. But yes, and I can send out that link to you. It does cover you. It does cover you. Absolutely. Here's one. Chris, how do you find out the information about people to be recognized from the chapter life coordinator? Do people know to email someone or call someone?
Well, since this is the first time, we used the board itself as a point of departure on nominations. In the next round, we will have 2 or 3 of those open to the membership to make their own nominations for us. But at this time, nobody knew what the Beach Breeze Awards were, and we were a little short of time. So we elected to have the board do the nominations and then approve the nominations. But we plan to ask people for their feedback in the next rounds, and we'll establish that as a part of our process.
I think this question that is coming up is one of the most important questions you can ask. And I would just like to comment on this, and I would like Chris's comments and Phylicia's as well. How many chapter events do you find feasible to achieve for the upcoming year? Our chapter year goes from September to June. Well, let me tell you, I attended the National Council meeting about a month ago in Atlanta, and we talked at great length about this. Is something that has concerned the National Council for the last year, is that we know you have less time to serve in a leadership position. Don't overburden yourself with something you can't deliver. If you produce 4 events a year where you might be collaborating with another arts organization, another chapter, one that might just be purely social, if you do 4 a year, that's fine. As long as you've given people the opportunity to connect and talk and communicate. And Chris, please share. What do you think about that? I mean, is
Well,
that
our most recent program chairman, it was right in your pocket about that. She said, Chris, we just can't do 10 events anymore. And so we're down to 6 or 7. And each of them, but we very intentionally focus each one on a certain set of combined values. We have a members recital with, and this is where the Beach Breeze Awards will be. We have a potluck. We have 2 potlucks. One of them is at the Spreckles Organ Pavilion in the summer outdoors. We have another potluck at the end of the year at another venue. We this year are going to collaborate more with the Theater Organ Society, so we have that going on. And we have a policy of not bringing in artists on our own. We only collaborate or cooperate with other church programs. We don't have the money in our budget to be able to pay for high-end artists, but joining together forces with other churches is how we do that. So we have 2 of those. So we have a total of 7 this year. And we always have a couple of educational workshops along with the membership. But this is a part of the historical memory that the board needs to know, the program chairman needs to know about this. We are intending to build our program out 2 years now. We know of 2 events that are going to happen in 2025, 26, which will allow us more time and much less stress in producing those, which is one of our attempts to make it easier on our own people in producing programs.
Phylicia, anything you might want to add to this?
Yeah, I would say the AGO has 258 chapters, and there is a wide range of the amount of events that each of those put on. So there isn't really a good one-size-fits-all response. I think it is important to look at the amount of work that goes into each type of event that you're doing. You can have an event that is buy coffee and donuts and sit around and chat, and it doesn't need to be any more work than that. It's just about keeping connected. And if you feel like you're doing too much, scale back. You can always add. It's easier to add than subtract.
Excellent, excellent points. Oh, hi, Jane Ott. What do you suggest for motivation when board members do not want to help? Aside from bribery, any other suggestions?
Well, that's a tough one. We don't usually work in San Diego alone. We usually work in twos or threes, and we're experimenting with a new program program committee format this year, where there's no program chair, but it's a collaboration of 4 or 5 people, and so I will collaborate with someone and be in charge, but also I will assist someone else with their program. You can see how it kind of goes around like that. So nobody, as it was, we had the program chairman was responsible for producing all of the shows for the entire year with a couple of people, which is what I just went through. And so we're thinking that this collaborative model will reduce the amount of time and stress on our people.
I think that's great. And it just stresses and supports teamwork. I mean, that's really, there's no I in T as a team, as I'm sure everybody has heard. Okay. John Palmer asks, can I ask board members to cause everything to happen? Is it up to me to do the verbs? Interesting. I think it's setting the expectations in the beginning of the year. Phylicia, what do you think?
Yeah, you're not the cause of well, you're the cause in the sense that you're the chief motivator and you are the conductor of the orchestra, but it's not entirely up to you to do all the verbs, and you'll burn yourself out if you're the only one who's doing all the verbs, even if that verb is just buying the coffee and donuts. You can definitely reach out to the rest of your board members and let them know where they need to help you and step up. It's not entirely on one person ever.
Good point. Good point. I love this next question. Thank you, William, for posting. How would you go about increasing your membership? Well, I hope that you will join us. Let me look at the date here. On June 24th, we have a series of officer training webinars, but the last one is called Membership is Everybody's Business. It's not just the registrars. It's not the membership coordinator. It is everybody on that board. And it's, we're going to talk about how you'd go about doing this so that you don't feel like you're cold calling people. You need to know a little something about them before you reach out to someone who you think might be interested, but you need to know a little bit more about them. So we're going to talk about this at length on that upcoming webinar on June 24th. Anything else, Chris, that you think you want?
Well, I think on that topic that you have to play with the board, you have to a game of who do you know?
Uh-huh.
Because who do you know? Well, everybody knows a few people, but nobody knows everybody. And there are some people who are really connected into the employment realm of things that know every job that is up and knows every job that is taken. And that is your key person. Because when a new job is posted and a new person is there, they're excited. And if they're not a member, here's your chance to come in and offer congratulations and support. And we want you to be part of us. Come and join us for such and such. I want to take you out for coffee. And it really is one by one, but who do you know? For instance, in San Diego, one of our famous and most loved members is the curator of the Spreckles organ, Dale. And he also is an organ technician, and he tunes all the organs in San Diego. Well, if Dale knows every organ and every organist, then you need to have him at that meeting of Who Do You Know? And
It
he
is.
is
It is.
fabulous.
Yeah, it's true. It's who do you know, and then who do you know, and it just continues and it continues and continues. So that is a really, really important point. Really important point. Is there a way for the dean to know at the time a new member has joined the chapter? Well, yes. Yes. Unfortunately, many of you may know that On Card has been offline for a couple of weeks now. We're trying to do a lot of maintenance on it. When it comes up and running again, yes, Phylicia, doesn't the dean get an announcement of a new member that's joined the chapter, whether they're a primary, or does it also mention that they're dual?
Yeah, you get a copy of their receipt. So you get CC'd on that thank you letter that goes out, and those are still functional because we're still sending those thank you letters. So check your spam folders. You should be getting those notifications even with On Card down. Those are still going out. Another way to know if you are having trouble getting those email notifications is just to check your roster regularly. With On Card down, the way to check your roster is send me an email and I will send it to you. You can always check the enrollment dates of your members that let you know when they joined your chapter.
It's a really good practice. Monthly, to at least monthly, to be going in and just saying, okay, look, somebody joined. That's great. Even if you missed the email communication, also, who's coming up for renewal. And we will let you know that as we do migrate, and we're getting closer and closer to migrating to our database with a great sense of purpose and excitement, that it will be a lot easier for you to receive reports that will tell you about new members and members up for renewal. So stay tuned. Will these webinars be available after the live broadcast? Absolutely. We record every single webinar. It's important. Not everybody has time to participate in these. Our hope is that we did put, when we were promoting this, that we encouraged every chapter dean, and as we have these upcoming webinars for different officer positions, please make a commitment to go and look at the recording. And there's always a link that's sent out, and it's also is available under the education tab. It says webinars and workshops, and if you scroll down, it'll say past webinars and workshops, and there's a drop down menu for chapter leadership, and you can see the most recent one there. But this one is definitely going to be recorded, as they all are. I think we've covered everything. Any final thoughts or comments from anybody? Phylicia, Chris?
Well, I would just like to promote a little bit of a Nagoya webinar coming up on June 10th on higher education options for organists. We'll have members of the Nagoya committee talking about traditional programs at four-year schools, community colleges, and conservatories. This webinar is designed for students and anyone who is guiding students in the college application process. So check that out on June 10th.
That's awesome. That is just awesome. We do have some other officer training webinars, as I mentioned, coming up. We will have on June 3rd, that's next Monday, officer training for sub-deans or anyone else who's planning events within your chapter. So as Chris said, maybe it's a group of people now. And I know particularly with some of our smaller chapters, it takes a group of officers to be able to put these programs and events together. So it's not just for sub-deans. Anyone in your chapter is also involved in helping to plan programs and events. And then, as I said, on the 24th, which we're going to encourage every single officer to attend, membership is everybody's business. So I just want to thank Chris Cook, who has just, well, Chris, you've been a mentor to me for 5 years, ever since I met. And I know you're a mentor to a lot of other people. And we are so blessed to have your leadership. It has been such a blessing. And I have to thank Phylicia, who really does keep a calm sense uh, at work, where as I might get a little upset, Phylicia is the voice of rationality and reason. And you need a report, my Lord shall have it to you before you can ask for it. So, everybody has to have a wingman. And I encourage you to think about, who's your wingman on your board. I know my wingman or wing woman is definitely Phylicia. I couldn't do my job without her. Thank you. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I think this has been a really good discussion. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Phylicia. And as I said, within the next 48 hours, you will receive recording and a handout. And you know where to find us. We're always available. We're here to help you. We want you to be successful this year. So enjoy what's coming up, and do have fun with it. So thank you so very much. Everybody take care.